Welcome back. Every night at this time, the great debate. Tonight's issue is President Obama making us safer. And we ask because CIA Director Leon Panetta has been catching flack all day for his new pushback against former Vice President Dick Cheney, who's been criticizing the Obama administration's change of tactics in the war on terror. The New Yorker quotes Panetta as saying this about Cheney, quote, "It is almost as if he is wishing that this country would be attacked again in order to make his point. I think that's dangerous politics." Well, Cheney shot back in a written statement today saying, "I hope my old friend Leon was misquoted." The CIA tried to tamp down the controversy this afternoon, a spokesman telling CNN that Panetta does not believe Cheney wants the U.S. to be attacked again. Well, joining us for tonight's great debate, former Clinton White House Special Counsel Lanny Davis, who is currently senior advisor and spokesperson for the Israel Project. And we have Mark Thiessen back with us, who is a chief speechwriter for President George W. Bush and is a visiting fellow at the Hoover Institute. And, of course, we want your opinion, too. Vote by calling the number on the bottom of your screen. First, right now, an opening statement from each. We've got 30 seconds for each of you on the clock. The question, again, is President Obama making us safer? Lanny, make your case.
Well, first of all, congratulations, Campbell, on the baby, and it's nice to be back.
Thank you.
I do think President Obama has made this country safer in three ways. First of all, by setting a deadline on the war in Iraq and getting out, we removed the negative energy for terrorists that I think that war created. Secondly, his speech reaching out to the Muslim world, which I believe reduced some of the negative energy regarding the United States' image in the world. And thirdly, and most importantly, he believes in engaging and discussing with our enemies rather than creating enemies where none exist.
All right, Mark?
President Obama is not making the country safer. I fundamentally disagree, and Dick Cheney is calling on it. And as a result, Leon Panetta went out the other day and told the New Yorker that Dick Cheney wants the country to be attacked again. What he basically said is that Dick Cheney is a monster who wants Americans to die in order to make a political point. That is a shameful thing for the director of the CIA to say. Dick Cheney worked for 7 years to keep this country safe. Any one of us who went through the experience of 9/11 doesn't want to see the country attacked again. And for the director of the CIA to say something like that, he owes Dick Cheney an apology.
Well, Mark, let me just have you follow up, because I did read the statement that the CIA gave us a little bit earlier today, saying that that's not what Panetta meant by that statement.
Well, what they said was he said almost, which is sort of what is the meaning of it depends on what the meaning of is. This is not an apology. But the point is that when people make cheap shots like this, it's usually because they can't answer the substance of the charge. Dick Cheney has been pointing out that Barack Obama is eliminating the most important tool our intelligence community has that has stopped a series of terrorist attacks. And you know, he's making it harder for the CIA to protect our country. You know who agrees with him? Barack Obama. Barack Obama went to the CIA a few weeks ago, and he said to the men and women of the CIA, "I know what we're doing is making your job harder, and that's okay." That is an incredible thing for the President of the United States to say, and it's going to come back and haunt him if we're attacked again.
All right, Lanny, you can respond to that.
Well, I'm glad that the CIA took back what I think was a quick interpretation of what Leon Panetta meant. I don't think he believes that Dick Cheney wants another 9/11. But the words of Dick Cheney do have impressions, and the impression that he left by saying that Barack Obama is making the world more dangerous, sounds like he's setting himself up to defend when he authorized illegal torture, which we know he says he did when he authorized waterboarding, and secondly, when he claims that Barack Obama's policies are making the world less safe. It's almost as if something, God forbid, should happen, Vice President Cheney, former Vice President, is ready to say, "I told you so, I was right."
Well, you know, Lanny, I think that's an unfair thing to say, because, you know, when Winston Churchill was standing in the 1930s and warning that the Nazis were going to attack, no one said that he wanted the Blitz to happen.
No, I agree with that.
You know, what Dick Cheney is doing is he sees that the Bush administration put in place a series of institutions that kept our country safe for 2,688 days after 9/11, and Barack Obama is starting to dismantle some of those key institutions. So he is warning the country that there's a danger to what Barack Obama is doing, and that's perfectly legitimate. It's not legitimate to question his motives.
Mark, I completely agree with you. It's not legitimate to question his motives. I strongly disagree with his statement and the judgment he uses in leaving an impression that he's trying to be ready to say it's your fault, Barack Obama, if God forbid something happens. But I don't question his motives, and I agree with you that I'm glad the CIA took, on behalf of Mr. Panetta, took the comment.
The common ground's in the next segment.
I know. Well, I think we've taken care of the common ground right there.
Sure.
So let me get you both to sort of assess, and Lanny, have you address the statements that Mark made? I mean, how do you assess whether or not we are safer? I mean, is it just the fact that there hasn't been another attack, or also respond to some of the specifics that Mark laid out in terms of the changes in policy and what that means?
Well, first of all, I do give President Bush a lot of credit for keeping this country safe. I think Democrats ought to be willing to say that. While we disagree with his policies in Iraq, I do think the programs that they put in place that were finally made lawful by the Congress, including the surveillance program, have been helpful, and I think good Democrats can acknowledge that. Where we disagree, and where Mark and I have a respectable disagreement, is that I believe that Barack Obama is reaching out to the Muslim world. His banning of illegal torture, which has been used as a propaganda weapon by terrorists, we know that as a fact. I simply believe that we live in a dangerous world. There still is a war against these radical, fundamentalist, and I think dangerous terrorists. But I think that Barack Obama's policies are, for the long term, much safer for this country than the policies of the previous administration.
Let me tell. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, let me tell you why I disagree with that. One, one of the single most important tools in protecting the country and stopping those attacks from happening is the interrogation of captured terrorists. And the interrogation of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and others stopped an attack on the Library Tower in Los Angeles, stopped an attack on our consulate in Karachi, stopped an attack on our Marine camp in Djibouti, stopped an attack on Heathrow Airport in downtown London. These are concrete attacks that were stopped because of the interrogation of terrorists. Taking away that tool makes us less safe. But the other thing that's very dangerous is that decimating the morale of the CIA. When the President of the United States and the Director of the CIA go out and use words like torture, which is wrong, I don't agree with you that we committed torture about these people, then it decimates the morale of the intelligence community. One of the reasons we were attacked on 9/11 is because there was a culture that was averse to risk-taking.
All right.
Who's going to take risks now?
Real quickly, waterboarding is defined as torture under the law.
No,
severe physical and
wrong.
mental pain is the definition. No one really disagrees with that. And secondly,
Sure they do.
the facts asserted by Mark as to what was or was not prevented are not a matter of public record. I'm not sure how he knows, except CIA interrogators say that the better way to get information is not through torture, where someone will say anything. It's less reliable. So there's a respectable disagreement on that.
All right, and that's a debate in and of itself that we're going to have another time because we are out of time. But Mark and Lanny, thank you very much. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
And we do want to see how you voted in tonight's great debate. 65% say yes, President Obama is making a